All right. End of week 7. There's 1 week left.
Crazy.
It's flown by to me. I don't know if it's felt that way
Same.
to everybody else. Yeah.
I thought there was like literally 3 more. Like I was thinking to myself, like, oh, there's like 2 more weeks after this week. And it's like, no, there's not. Crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So one thing we'll do tonight is kind of decide what else we want to do, like in the coming week, to kind of get the app in a good state and everything. We won't have Matthew with us after today, so he'll be on his road trip. So it'll be just the 4 of us, but we can get some things done this week if we want. Let's do the typical kind of demos. I know we got a lot of things merged to production, which is exciting. So it'd be good just to kind of do an overview of the state of what is in production, so we can make some decisions later on. And then the other thing we'll talk about is the new application selection process for future cohorts. Get your feedback on all that. So yeah, I can show the control chart. I just updated it. Although I don't. Now that we took the numbers off the issues, it's a lot harder to find which ones I had, like which ones I've tracked and which ones I hadn't. So I'm not sure I got everything, but I'll just share my screen really quickly. So there's one like this, the panning issue. This issue 7 is a bit of an outlier, and I think we actually I don't think 20 days is exactly reflective of how that issue went. I think it was really probably two separate, like, kind of stabs at the issue. Is that true, right?
Yes. And so probably each time we only worked on it for like three days, I would say.
Oh, really? Okay.
Amber? Just because, like, I think that's why I sent the deja vu gift the other day. It's because basically we had it done, but we couldn't really test it out. And when we did test it out this time, because of the idle issue, we can't rewrite React state fast enough to stop the API from pinging. And so that's the point that we're at right now.
Okay. So the cycle time is meant to, the purpose of it is to, like, one of the things it does is to kind of surface when there are blockers or, like, there are kind of things that the team needs to pay attention to. So, and it's meant to include the time that it's in progress, which I think what I'm hearing was, 3 days. We did kind of 3 days of work, and we did 3 days of work over here. But then the rest of the cycle time is, time it takes to review and merge it and stuff. So I would guess that probably extends it to 5 or 6 days on each.
Yeah, probably.
That tracks, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe I'll split this into 2. I don't know.
Sorry, Andrew.
Yeah.
Would it be a benefit to put that later in the weeks? Like, I didn't work on it, but did you guys find that, like, you needed certain things to? But, like, does it have to be on week 7, or could it be lower down? Is what I'm kind of saying. I don't know.
Oh yeah, it's not necessarily. These aren't actually in strict date order, I don't think. Like, this started on May 26th. This started on May 18th. I just had them ordered by the issue number, just to make it easier for myself. Yeah. So, but yeah, we could drag it around if we wanted to, renumber it or whatever. It's just
this issue is actually, it's not difficult. We really just implemented state to deal with the issue. The only problem is that, just so that everyone else knows, what it seems like is happening is because the action of panning, if someone clicks and holds and never lets go, if they just continually pan, it just keeps pinging over and over again, and it cannot change the state fast enough so that it'll still, like, it suppresses some of the API calls, but not all of them. And so that was the only hiccup that we experienced, right, Amber?
Yeah, pretty much. After we, like, logicked ourselves through it and we're like, oh, this should work, why doesn't it work? But yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So that was the only blocker, was because I think of the way that the pins were being fetched.
Okay. Yeah.
But actually this issue can go really anywhere in the timeline, because the logic part of it is not difficult. Does that make sense?
You mean future work that we do, or the work that's already been done?
Just for like in general of ordering the issues, like for future cohorts, like this issue could
I see.
actually have been resolved way earlier. It's just that because we can't really override the panning issue, that's why it kind of got dragged out for so long.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, sure. All right.
So maybe that's something
yeah.
you could, in the panning issue, you could, one of the ACs could be like drag start, drag end, or whatever, or just like, you know, make sure that these certain events. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that something that like it'd be good to specify, or is that something like by trying some different things, like looking at events and deciding for yourself like what you think might work? Is that a good learning opportunity, or?
I think so.
Yeah, I would think if you want to make it a learning opportunity, though, you might want to put this issue farther down, just so it had, like, when you're developing, you have something to test against. Because I feel like we would have lost less time if we had something to test against and went, oh, wait, this isn't working, yada, yada. And then you could do the whole exploring different, like, idle versus drag in, drag start type things, as opposed to, like, narrowing the AC so cohorts don't have, like, the opportunity to try stuff.
So, okay, so the panning around and finding new pins thing should come later in the sequence. Like it should, so we would do, like based on the user's location, we would get that working first and then add the panning later. Is that? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. And I think that's actually how I developed my app too. Like I did like I had to find my location and do pins, and I was like, oh, it'd be really useful. I could just pan around. So I built it in that sequence myself. So I don't know why I switched it when I ordered the issues. Okay, that's great feedback. I wish that my little spreadsheet could show kind of over time how how the kind of cycle time has gone, but I think this is a little bit lower than the last time, like last week when we looked. So we've had a couple of issues that were kind of shorter. So that's always good. I mean, typically with these things, like you want the cycle time to get kind of smaller over time, to whatever kind of limit the team agrees on. But anyway, I have no idea what this issue is or that one. Anyway, maybe a little more time, I can find those on the board somewhere. Cool. Just here, I'll stop sharing. Does someone want to, or a couple people want to run us through sort of the current state of the app for the recording?
We can, Matthew, can't we? We can share what we worked on this week.
I'm sure. Yeah. Do you want me to load it up?
Do you mind? And I can.
I don't mind. Sorry, I forgot to reach out ahead of the call. I can get that going real quick.
Oh, yeah, let's look at our issues.
We merged like 3 different PRs this week, right?
Oh yeah. Okay, so I think at the start
earlier in the
videos, that definitely still needs like some good CSS, but I think we got it looking a little bit nicer than it did before. We got rid of the header and all that good stuff we were saying last week. But yeah, I merged that earlier in the week so we could focus on this. And we met up a good few times, and it was kind of one of those ones where you're like, did this work? It was kind of one of those weird ones where you're like playing around with stuff, but Matt had some really good ideas. I think we came up with a kind of a simple approach to it. So
1 second, sorry.
I heard.
I'll start sharing. It's just loading the app itself now. Do you want me to start with the app or with the code?
I suppose the app.
Okay.
And this, are you on the latest master? Is that what you're showing?
Yes. Yeah. I just checked out and pulled down master, so it should be the most up to date. What I'll do to kind of help show, I think it's network. No, it's application.
Yeah.
So you can kind of get a better idea of what it is that's updating. So, do you want to start?
So basically, just like the issue was that every time. Actually, do you want to pull up the issue just so we can read it properly?
Of course. Yeah. I think I have. Just close that one, didn't we? There's this one here.
Get the phrasing right. Yeah, so it's basically that the app should wait to fetch new places until after the previous call has completed, plus the number of seconds the user has set in the delay slider. It's kind of like two parts to it, like making the app wait and then also implementing the like delay slider as well. And so Matthew had worked on the settings modal before, so he was like very clued into the delay slider. So a lot of the first few meetings was just like me kind of trying to get my head around it a little bit more, because like I find in the demo I get it, and then when I go back to it again, I'm like, what does it actually do? So it was kind of like just trying to get a head start on that. And so yeah, they had already set up this local storage slider value, so we actually just kind of built on that a little bit, and also used a set timeout. I think was it the cancel timeout that you guys were referencing that we could use, potentially do it at a later date. Yeah. So we still have those kind of choppy pins, which isn't as nice, but that's in a later issue. But yeah, basically just wait.
Yeah, so just I can piggyback on that a little bit. Yeah, so as you can see, when we like slid it, it updated the value over here. And so we mainly kept it on 5 seconds when we were testing. So when you drag, there's a delay of however many seconds is here. So we keep it on 5. Sometimes it looks like it's longer than 5, but I think it's just because the computer is super slow, or maybe it's because of what you said as well, Andrew, about how it might be like adding. Oh, looks like this time it completely.
Oh yeah, there's errors racking up in the console.
Yeah, I've noticed this from time to time. I don't know if it's part of we're sending so many things, but it gets some promise failures every now and then.
Yeah, that looks, I think I've seen that before. I think that's when it stacks up, you know, like it just does a bunch of them in a fast loop or something. And then the server just, like it just starts timing it, you know.
Yeah, I think part of that, like I noticed when we were doing like a console log, it kind of, when you drag it, it's doing all those calls, but doesn't wait to send it until you stop. And then it sends them all at once. So maybe that's like the idle drag thing that you kind of mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah, and we spoke with that during the week. We just didn't apply it, but I'll set up a separate issue for those things.
Yeah, I think drag end would work as well, and that might be a little tiny bit more responsive because, you know, the map is probably not idle for a couple of seconds until a couple seconds after drag end. Drag end is probably when like tiles might still be coming in and that kind of thing. Okay. When all that is done, that's when idle fires, I believe. So drag end is probably actually a better one to use.
Okay.
Yeah, except the moment we have it on the center change, and it's when especially depending how far you dragged it, but it's like building up like hundreds of calls at a time. It's changing every little thing. Yeah, here's the set timeout that we added. And this is the
There it
actual
is, yeah.
timeout. So we applied this in a few places at first. At first, I kind of had it up here.
Mhm.
And we also went in here. And this was the one that seemed like it actually affected it. So there's a little trial and error.
Mm. One thing I kind of had a chat with Matthew about, if you go back to the settings modal, Matthew, just for a sec, if you can, just from like a user's perspective, actually on the app, like see how frequently the app will fetch new places values in seconds. It just seems kind of like not like the average Joe Soap's like language or something. I don't know. So I was thinking, I wonder, should we change that to something like, what's your mode of transport, or that'll determine how quickly things, you know what I mean? That was just one thing I just, if we were looking at like a user perspective later on in a few weeks time or something, maybe the wording of that could change. Because I think like fetch new places, people don't really, that's a very kind of developer terminology.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but yeah, no, it was a lot simpler than I thought personally. I thought it was, yeah, a lot harder. So it was really nice to just have a small bit of code. Kind of exciting.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those that I wasn't even sure, even once you got it working, if it was still like the perfect place for the set timeout to sit. I don't know your opinion on that, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I don't know that it matters too much. Like I could see it either there. I would think it would work in that function just below inside of handle center change, like wrapped around fetch nearby places as well. But yeah, I think one of the important thing here probably is to cancel the timeout, because it's like before you set a new one.
I think we originally did that. I forget why I removed it.
Oh yeah.
We definitely had sorry, you can go, Ashley.
No, yeah, we did have it. I don't know why we removed it in the end. We changed a lot of things like later in the week, I think. Yeah, we'll add that in. So would that go after the fact that they're online like 43 or so? Just do cancel.
I would cancel the previous. I would just have one ID, like a timeout ID.
Okay.
Cancel it and then set the new one.
Right.
And that's just, I mean.
Is this something similar, just out of curiosity? So like, I think there's something else that would go before this. Was it something similar to like that, or?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we were on the right track then.
Yeah.
You just have to stash that timer somewhere where it's going to persist the next time this gets called, right? So it probably needs to be in state somewhere.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I think part of it was we forgot that we had a time to by 1,000 until like towards the end.
Know. I did the same.
So we had put it a few other places, and we're like, oh, it's not working, and then
it was 5 milliseconds instead of 5 seconds.
Yeah, it's like a little bit. Yeah, kind of the gist of our thing.
Yeah, very cool. Good stuff. Amber and Jen, you'll have something to share?
I think we had a child. She had to run off too real quick.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking back now. I think we spent most of the week focusing back on the panning issue, and through our talking, we now know we need to switch it over to drag in or drag start, just to solve like a lot of problems. But I don't really think we did much work on anything else. I'm looking at the closed issues now.
It would be maybe helpful to just kind of look at production and see kind of, so before we go into kind of planning this last week, like the whole state of the app, like what's implemented out of all the things we think should be implemented, and what's buggy, what's working, all that kind of stuff. because something we could do is, we could scrap what's on the board and just decide like, okay, of looking at the app, the things we want to either, I don't think there are many new features we want to add, but like the things we want to improve, add polish to or whatever, we just make issues for those things if we wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds good. I think there was search was the new thing.
Yeah.
The issue about searching. Yeah.
It might be a little ambitious for this one.
Yeah. It would be cool to learn how to do it, but mostly bugs and things like that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. The only funnily enough, the only real bug that we have is the jerky pin thing, and pretty sure that'll be solved by just changing handles interchange to drag start, because like y'all said, it's just pinging as we pan. Right. So that's why it's super jumpy and janky. So I imagine we implement drag start, it would just stop doing that. Like you would only ping once we stop dragging. So that would pretty much fix all of our bugs. So we're not really looking particularly buggy right now.
Good.
I want to think that's true too, but Jen, I thought, tried the idle event. I said it didn't really make any difference. So I didn't actually try it myself.
I hadn't either.
But I mean, I think it's definitely the more correct thing is it use drag end or idle, one of those that kind of denotes that the user has stopped panning. That is the more correct thing to do, and I would expect it to, like you're saying, Amber, to kind of fix that to a large degree. I just know, like when I was building this, like it was, stuff like there were just so many things going on, all this state, and so much was asynchronous that it was hard to even understand what the app was really doing, because even watching the network tab, I guess actually with the network tab, the thing to do would be to filter it down to nearby, and so you don't see all those images flying by and everything every time you move stuff around.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe I'll,
yeah, I think that was when I kind of noticed what it was doing. So when it first loaded, it was just the one network, like send or whatever.
Yeah.
And then when we panned it, it was like 50 of them. And so I was like, oh, it's not set per like square, because it had all the thumbnails, but it was just a one network. And it's when we panned, then it got like a ton of them. We're like, oh, okay, see. What it's doing.
all right, network. Nearby. All right. So let's see. So this is production. Let's just kind of run through stuff. So from here, we let me actually let's start over. Okay, one call to nearby, beautiful. We share our location, allow. It jumps over, so that's several calls to nearby. But I guess that's probably it, just kind of walking things in. So one thing, actually, I mean, the fact that I'm zooming in to see where I am, maybe we want to change the zoom level. Is there, maybe someone could take some notes in the Notion doc.
I'll do the old-fashioned way on pen and paper and put it in afterwards.
Okay, that's cool.
So what did you say? Zoom.
Yeah, so have it start more zoomed in, so that when you're like, basically it gives the illusion that like there's pins everywhere, like should maybe kind of go just a little bit off the edges of the map, right?
That's a really quick fix.
I think it's just right now it's just defaulted to whatever's in the docs, because it's necessary for the call to be successful. It's like 11, but I don't even know what 11 corresponds to.
Yeah.
Yeah, 11. 14 zoom levels or something. I don't even know, but some weird number. So do we want to fix the black dot?
Yes, we do.
Lagging.
Oh, jumping. That's right. I'd forgotten about that.
I think you had said previously that you just put a div around the map or something, but it didn't seem to work for our layout. I don't know. But
Do you remember what about it didn't work?
I feel like you did it and the behavior just didn't change from what I remember.
Yeah, I think we tried it.
Because you had said just make the actual div that the dot's in just take up the full screen, right? And that just made it so it stayed still when you, not stayed still, but didn't jump when you panned.
Yeah, like let me show you. So that thing is just, it's literally just, actually, let's see if I can find it. I don't think it's,
Not in.
it's not in the map itself, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, it's right here. So it's literally like, this is all the map, the actual Google map. And then so this is just like a fundamental kind of HTML, CSS concept, but because it comes after the map in the actual HTML order, it's in what's called, it's in the same stacking context, but it's like closer to the user, right? Like it's, because it comes later, it's closer to me. So that's why it's on top of the map and not behind the map. Like if I were to switch the order of those, you wouldn't see it. It would be behind the map. Anyway, right. So it's just literally just kind of sitting there. I give it a height and width, and okay, so here we go. So it's left 50%, top 50%, and then I do a little trick to center it, because otherwise, if it was, that top and left 50% refers to the top left corner of that little box.
Okay.
So I transform it back up so that the center, what I want to actually be the center, is in the center of the actual span. So that's what this line does. So you didn't see it jump.
Oh, like nudge it back. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just literally just this little span that's just kind of sitting there, unaffected by anything else that happens. And all I do is either show it or hide it based on the mode that I'm in. So, if I share my location, wait for things to happen. There we go. And then you notice there's no center pin. As soon as I drag, it shows up. As soon as I hit the red thing, it like fades back out, it goes away.
Okay.
So I don't know. I feel like it like it was a little more. It's like a little more complicated. Like we had like a, it was actually reacting to like the actual map center and all that kind of stuff. But I just used a trick. It's like put a div or a span.
So you might have done it, Aisling, but you just didn't tie it to like handle center change.
Yeah, I think I didn't. Yeah.
That
makes a lot more sense.
Okay. So that'd be a good thing to fix. The magic mouse is scrolling me all over the place. Yeah. So yeah, we're stacking up the nearby calls. So that's definitely something too. Yeah. I mean, luckily
ask Jim when she gets back, because I mean that seems like it should solve it. So I'm surprised that it didn't when she tried.
Well, we're still using drag center, I think.
Yeah, it's still drag center in production.
Oh, okay.
Not drag center, center change. You know what I meant.
Or yeah, center changed. That's what I meant to say. So yeah, so if we change that, that should, hopefully it will clean up all these network calls. So that's a pretty important one. This is set to be an iPhone 10. The pins are a little squished, or they're not square anyway. I don't know if that's intentional.
That's probably I think, Matthew, you had a little bit of media queries at the end of the CSS file. I think we probably need to make it a bit more responsive in general. Because we can look how large
no, they're still kind of, no, if you just zoomed out, you didn't change phones. But I say they're still a little slightly squished rectangular, even zoomed out.
Yeah, they don't seem to change based on the zoom level or anything.
We've got to work on that too.
On the desktop, are they still square? Or is it just the iPhone?
That's a good question. It's I just noticed in the network tab that it's just stacking up thousands and thousands of calls.
Yeah.
Which is why it stopped responding. I'll reload. Maybe we'll close the tab and start over. Yeah, so they're square in this view. But then once we go to device view, they get skinny, they get squished. So if we just drag, okay, that's the center change. Right. So I think there's something else going on. I think so. Once we share the location, oof.
Yeah. The API says no. Okay.
Yeah. API says no. The so it's sitting on 207 requests. So that's actually fine. Actually, what I thought was happening was maybe it was updating the location a lot, but it's okay. Then now once I dragged it, okay, so it's not. I guess it's if you drag it a lot, it's just going to stack those calls up and try to execute every single call.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, that's definitely a thing to try to fix.
Like, would it be worthwhile just to create one issue with like all of these things and like all three of us work on it together? Or is that like a lot of change to review in a PR? Is that kind of confusing?
Yeah, it'd be better to, I mean, I think the three of you working on all this stuff together is a great idea.
Yeah.
What I would do though is like do like a small PR for each of the issues.
Okay.
Like a PR that all it does is change center change to drag it. You know.
Okay.
And we can isolate whether that is the thing that fixed the app, right?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And you know, something small to maybe you can maybe do one issue to fix, you know, a few different CSS things, like kind of tidy some stuff like that up.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Like one thing I was kind of wondering is whether you want the whole app to scroll like this, right? Or whether you want, like the way I have mine, this bottom part scrolls independently of the rest of it.
Oh, I like that better.
Yeah. And that way the map is always there. You always have your controls up at the top and all that kind of stuff, right? So
yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
I kind of wonder, but now I'm looking at it, like it's not, you know how when you're holding it, it's not actually on a phone and you're holding the phone, like your thumbs can only reach the bottom of the screen. And I don't know if it'd be worth having these icons down at the bottom. But that's just me kind of making stuff up on the spot. So you know, I don't know how
makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I rarely reach the top of my phone to tap anything. I think about it, except for like, you know, to drag down.
I mean, I guess changing this setting is probably not a super common thing, but you know, if you pan around and then you know you want to go back to your own center, maybe that's more common. I don't know. But that's to me that'd be a low priority thing. But yeah, so the scrolling, and then let's look at the.
Yeah, they're not great now.
Oh wow! I wonder what happened.
Yeah, that should be working. That should be in, because I just looked at it on my phone and it was.
Okay, it could be the app is really bogged down, so it might just be that it's not loading the CSS. Oh right, because the CSS is that link tag gets injected when we open this up. Is that right?
I think so, yeah, materialized.
Yeah. We implemented it in that particular file, didn't we? It was against the whole app. But it's
So
fine. It looks fine.
Okay, I'm gonna Open it back up.
So for me on my phone now, yeah, it's like that. And then when you click on the video, it actually pops out into its own thing.
Yeah.
On my phone.
Yeah, on a desktop it probably doesn't, but on the phone that would make sense. So
That needs a little, yeah, that needs a good bit of.
that's iPhone 10 view. So it's I don't know why this is so like there's so much margin on these on the sides here. So
What does it look like on an iPad type thing? Is it just like the media queries aren't quite there?
yeah, that's a good question. Yes, iPad has plenty of room for it. Yeah.
Yeah, we actually just need to like have a good think about media queries, I think.
Yeah, just look at it across a few different devices or something and make sure it kind of fits everything. There's also a lot of you could pull this, well, maybe that's not possible with Materialize, but it'd be cool to be able to pull the modal out more towards the edges. So you're not kind of, wasting all this space.
Yeah.
Sure.
It looks like the container is just, maybe the width is just set to like 50%.
I think I probably do that.
So when it's on, or something along those lines. So when it's on the phone, it's like too narrow, but when it's on the other ones, it's.
Right. So something like 90% or something.
Yeah.
And then you could even maybe something to to center this so it doesn't like now it looks like it's off to one side.
Yeah.
It looks like it's as considered or something.
Type of flux.
Okay.
Yeah, and that would actually take care of it for both of those devices. Maybe not for little devices. Let's see. Oh no, it just shrinks it all down. So yeah, I mean that one change might be enough to do it. Let's see what else. So again, on the device, on device, like it's kind of crowded up against these edges. So that might be another thing.
A little bit of padding to throw in there.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that's probably about it, and then it's like pretty polished. So I think the biggest, probably the highest priority thing is just the stacking up of all these network requests. Right? Yeah.
And that shouldn't be a big change, so should be all good.
Yeah. Hopefully that fixes it. I don't know. It'd be interesting to hear from Jen whether she tried it or not. And didn't do what we expected, but yeah, filtering this down is probably going to be key to to actually kind of getting to the bottom of it, because otherwise it's just a mess of calls, right? Cool. All right. We have a Joan of Arc statue. I don't know why. She rocked, but like, what did she have to do with Portland? Probably nothing. Anyway.
There's also one in New Orleans.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense, though. There's more of a French connection to Louisiana.
Yeah.
Makes a little more sense. Not like 1-to-1 though.
That's true.
You're like, I guess she would have liked it. Maybe, who knows?
I'm nervous about all statues at the moment.
Oh, I know, right? So many terrible statues. And some of them just aren't even aesthetically pleasing. So, but that's a separate issue. All right, cool. So yeah. Ashley, you took notes on all those things?
Yeah, I'll put it into and then I'll create the issue as well. Yeah.
Okay.
But I think your CSS is good.
Okay.
A bit of a functional style issue, maybe or something.
Yeah, right. Okay, cool. I know Jen was pretty interested in the application selection process stuff. we have no way of knowing if she's coming
I know.
back.
I just want to say
Okay.
before we move on from this, like,
Yeah.
I'm happy to keep contributing once I get back. So like, no rush if we're not able to like hit all these things during the next week. I'm happy to, keep working on it beyond the 8 weeks. So we have
If y'all when you get back, if y'all want to try to implement that search feature, that'd be pretty cool, and see what it takes to do that.
Mhm.
And then, maybe in a future cohort, I can like define the AC a little better or something, or maybe kind of have a better idea of how it would be implemented. I know Google has a Places API, which I think that they use to do the autocomplete kind of drop down stuff.
Mhm.
Um,
I know, I'd be down. I definitely would. It seems like a really good functionality to have for the app, and always good to play around with more APIs, get into more documentation, all that good stuff.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think in terms of that 8-week project, this is a great amount. I think most people will be able to get accomplished, especially after like a 2.0 or a 2.01 or whatever that project.
Well,
Hey,
plus I think
Oh, hello.
she's back. Especially if we were to have gone Kanban right from the start. Like the first week, you're all done on like Wednesday.
yeah,
Like we could have made a little bit more progress and kind of, been breaking stories down as we went and stuff. Like we could have I think we could have been a little more efficient about how we went about it if we hadn't tried to stick with the old Scrum style
that's true.
from the start. So yeah, I feel like it is a good amount of scope for 8 weeks. You agree, Jen?
Sorry, her face.
Yes, I agree.
How's your daughter?
Thumbs up.
Good.
Okay. We just kind of went through the app and just tried to kind of make a list of things to do over the coming week.
Okay, awesome.
Like the biggest one being to fix the
Yeah,
hundreds and
the
hundreds
never-ending fetches. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But then there's a few like CSS things to tidy up and some stuff like that. So Ashlyn took notes. She's going to translate that all onto the board. So
Did you end up going over how our code affects the fetches, Amber?
No, I didn't. That's true. I could have done that. Actually, let me try
I
and
mean, it
share.
improves it slightly. So like when you're panning around, it's under 100 pings.
Right.
But if you do something crazy like pan and then just like whip it, then it goes out of control. Basically, just because center change just keeps changing.
mhm.
Yeah, but it gets it down to suppose like 1,000 calls, unless like it averages at like I think like 100 or something. I forgot what we got it down to.
Less than 100, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just getting npm start running before I start because my computer's kind of garbage.
I just panned around a little bit and I was able to get it up to like 10,000 calls. So it didn't take much.
Yeah, so the pending promise code, it does help with that to where it'll stop a bulk of the calls, but it doesn't stop all of the sequential calls. So you'll still have a pretty good amount of calls. When we were testing, even like holding and panning for a couple seconds yields like 40, 50 calls at once. But if we took out the code, then it would be like a few hundred calls at once, doing the same action. So it does something, but it doesn't solve the whole problem.
Yeah. Is that in production or not?
No, it's
No,
not. It's on our.
It's not.
It's on the branch because it didn't really quite meet the AC, so we weren't sure what to do at this point.
Yeah, it sounds like it's an improvement. So yeah, maybe just demo that, and then if that seems like it's better, we can merge it, and then we can just change that event and see if that kind of takes it the rest of the way.
Yeah, Amber, do you want me to just pull it up?
No, I actually got it.
Do you
now,
have it?
sorry.
Do you have it running? Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Let me. Actually, I'm probably just gonna go and pull up network again because we were doing console logs, but I just build such a nearby before we pan and reload. Yeah. So you got the one, you share location, you get like that. And then as you pan it kind of, well, maybe our handle center change gave us slides, but it stops when you go, but you don't really go as high as you do
Yeah, that's
in
definitely
production, because
better.
production goes like to tens of thousands. But you can kind of pan a little bit and it doesn't get like, well, it gets significantly less crazy, I guess, with 500 for panning for a couple seconds. So like Jim was saying, the whole pending promise where we flip it from true to false when we pan is suppressing some of them. Like,
that's cool.
But not all of them. So that makes me think that when we switch it to drag start or whatever, when we end up using our idle, then the pending promise code would still like eliminate all the extra calls entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah, this stuff is, it's tough to debug, and it's so asynchronous. It's like it's hard to know what thing is affecting it and stuff. But this seems like an improvement. So yeah, I would put it up for review, and let's try to get it merged, and then see how much of a difference it makes, and then change the event and see how much of a difference that makes. And hopefully, you know, with those two things, it'll be a lot more responsive.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
Ah.
All right. Cool. So we'll share. Are we good on in terms of the app?
I think so. That's a huge improvement.
Yeah. All right. So this is a preview build of the Collab Lab website. And so I wanted to show you to talk about just sort of some changes that we're going to make. It's kind of described on the new website that hopefully I'll get a review from Stacey and Mike, and it'll go out tonight. But it's kind of summarized here. The changes mostly, it's not really, this is mostly just to get people to those pages. So, you know, if you're going to apply, there's a new page here. There's Amber. Where this is all kind of just set up, but the bulk of it is, it's really that we're going to move to kicking off 2 cohorts at the same time. That's one change. So currently, like recently, we've been staggering them every 4 weeks. And that's actually like the coordination costs of having 2 different cohorts at different stages is actually, we're finding is fairly high. So we feel like kicking 2 off at the same time, it'll just be simpler to administer. But instead of having like what, you know, how it has been ever, like since we started this, is that you will apply, but you're basically just joining a wait list. And then every few weeks I go onto the wait list and I look for people, and I kind of pick people out and stuff, and then try to form cohorts. What we're going to want to move to is having an application window. So you have a week, like we're telling you all the questions up front, so you can kind of prepare. And then when the application window opens, you submit your application. After it closes, we then have, it won't just be me making the decision anymore either. It'd be, the idea is that me and Stacy, and then hopefully a couple of y'all alums, can help us kind of make the decisions of who we're going to select into those cohorts. And then we notify people. So we have a little thing here to, well, I can see that, but it opens a little window where you can put your email address in, and we can send an email out reminding people that the window is opening, so they don't miss it. So these are pretty close to the same questions that we asked back when you all applied. Another big change is that what now when people get rejected, we're actually they're going to be kind of in 2 camps. There's going to be people who were like qualified, like they could have joined a cohort, so they have like the requisite kind of React skills and decent answers to their questions and everything. We just didn't have space for everybody, so that's one camp of people, and they'll get one type of rejection email. And then people who like say they have their GitHub is just all Python or something, like there's no React in sight, like they're going to get a different email. It's like, thanks for your interest, but like we need to see some of these skills in order for you to be considered. And that kind of gives them a chance between then and the next time that we open up an application window for them to kind of do a couple of work through a couple of React projects basically, and kind of show us that that they're going to have. They're going to be kind of be set up for success in this. So instead of applying once, joining a wait list, and eventually, I mean, the thing that we found that I went back and looked ever since, I think TCL 3, I've been tracking like, how long did the person wait? The average wait time to get into Collab Lab is 122 days. It's like completely unacceptable, like.
Yeah, I distinctly remember forgetting that I applied when Stacy reached out to me.
Yeah, and you applied twice.
Yeah, which means I'm like, I forgot that I applied again.
Yeah, that's how long it takes. I know. It's ridiculous. So this way, you might have to apply multiple times, but you're always going to know what your status is. Like, I just applied for a particular cohort, I got rejected, but the next window is this. Like, it's much clearer. It's much less opaque. That's what we're going for anyway. So what I'd love to hear from all of you is, like, does that, like, the main thing I want to try to like guard against is like bias or unnecessary barriers, or kind of gatekeeping of any kind and that kind of thing. So is there anything about this that like you're wondering about, or any kind of concerns that it raises for you?
Is there going to be like a criteria sheet that the people reviewing the applications are going to have like a checklist off of? So it's all like kind of standardized.
Yeah, we so like a rubric basically. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll do training for, like, as a group, like we'll get together, like everyone who's going to be reviewing applications, and kind of come up with that. Like, we have some ideas of what those things are, you know, but it's some of it is going to be subjective too. It's like this question is a little bit, it's pretty open-ended, and what we're trying to get at with it is trying to get a sense of what is the person, are they going to be collaborative, or they have a growth mindset, it's kind of a better experience for everybody if we're not starting from scratch on those things, like when all of you all came in, like you wanted to learn, you wanted to connect with your team and all those kinds of things. If you have people who come in and I just want to be heads down and work on my stuff, it's like, well, probably in the wrong program. Like, you might succeed somewhere else, but like that's not really what we're going for. So that's a little bit hard to quantify like super strictly in advance, but that's a really good question. And if we as a kind of committee or whatever can come up with something that's a little bit more objective than subjective there, I'd be super open to it.
And like another follow-up question on that, is there going to be some sort of like auditing system for reviewers, just to track like who they select and who they reject, to like make sure that we're not leaning one way or the other overall?
Yeah, I'd like to do that. We haven't, I mean, we have all the, well, we have a lot of information. We don't have like a lot of information about ethnicity for applicants in the past, but we have, I mean, their self-reported pronouns basically, and then like their GitHubs, but like GitHub is kind of obviously always changing and stuff too. So it's hard to even kind of go back and do that analysis after the fact with applicants we already have. So, but I would like to start auditing. I would like to start tracking this a little bit more closely to watch for that. I'm not sure what that looks like yet, but.
This might be like a future question, but I was wondering, like, are there questions? There probably are questions that exist. I just haven't realized I've been asked them while applying. But are there questions that kind of get at people's problem-solving process, so you or the reviewers could theoretically put together a team of people that solve things in drastically different ways, so they could like learn from each other? Does that make sense? I don't know what that would look like now that I'm saying it aloud, but just like, I don't know, it'd be cool to like.
I like that idea. Yeah. One idea that we talked about and we kind of decided to not do is asking people to do like a 5-minute like Loom video walking through a project. So have them narrate and kind of show us the code, show us the project.
So many people wouldn't do that.
I know
It
people wouldn't
does
do
sound a
it,
little stressful.
right?
You're like, ooh, let's not.
That really, I feel like that really selects for like more outgoing people.
Yeah. Yeah. So we decided not to do it because it does, it does kind of present this barrier. It'd be great information to use to select people into the thing, though. Like, I mean, although like demoing over the course of 8 weeks, like you kind of build that skill. Like you'd probably be a lot better at it when you're done with the cohort than you were before you applied, right? But I agree, like it would really bias the kind of like what we're selecting against.
I just had one thought, Andrew, about my own process of applying and like thinking of potentially having like a testimony or just like a little line from a previous cohort member or something, like an alum member, just saying like, this is what it looks like, and this is why I enjoyed it, or this is why I benefited from it. Because I think you have the information there, but it's something about like hearing someone else's experience. I think for me, it would have been nice to have known what it was like before I went in.
So we do that in a couple places on the site. So we have like a thing from Mindy here and a thing from Caitlin here.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Sorry.
But
Yeah,
putting
I
it on the
remember
apply
those.
page, that might be. I like the idea of having one.
I wonder if there
there
should
too.
be like just the testimonials page or something, because I'm sure a lot of the cohort people, or maybe like when you hover over their picture, if they gave a testimonial, it would show their testimonial.
Well, like on the about page.
Mm-hmm.
Like I
Like
hover
if
over your
when
face and like.
yeah, and it'll like give like a
We could put a
thing.
little chat bubble up next to your face, and you click on that, and it shows.
This is great. Yeah.
I don't think I even realized this page existed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And all of y'all are on here more than once.
Twice.
I think like maybe it was just me like not really reading things properly, but I think like a really like good little checklist of like, okay, like brush up on GitHub. And I know Stacey was great in Slack, but I'm a real, like I was saying this to Lisa, I'm a real email person where just like a basic email where it's like, for the next week, like look at GitHub and look at this, just like a few little things just to prepare you before the first, I think.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about that too. That's been kind of a constant thing, is how to like having just a little bit of pre-work before you, like even just the whole thing about having the contributors file, which is a new thing that we do, is just to make sure they've cloned the project before we have the kickoff call. That's all it's about. Just have the thing pulled down, it's like at a minimum, because otherwise you get into the first like planning for the first week and people are like sitting there cloning and waiting. So anyway, this is all recorded now. I just revealed like the secret about the contributors file, but
you can add
so, but I do like the idea of a little bit of homework ahead of time, or like kind of things to like make sure you just like, brush up on basic Git commands. Those kinds of tips, right?
Is there a area on the page that kind of shows like what you'll be doing? Like here's like previous cohorts projects, or I feel like I remember seeing that before I started, but
all there is this little blurb about the projects. So what we could do is maybe we could link to some cohorts version of the app or something, or
maybe. Yeah. I was just thinking of like, this is what you'll be building, or like, something along those lines. But I don't know how much you want to give away.
Or even like a little Loom type thing of presenting like the most recent cohorts. Something like that, to just show how you build thing.
Yes, Stacey made a walkthrough. You guys are just showing off. It's such a cool looking app. Right, let me go to a different one because I think there's didn't Stacey have a little walkthrough of video that she recorded or something. But oh yeah, so she has a video demo that she made. Can you hear this? No. Oh, okay. It's Stacy narrating. So we could actually, we could use that, or we could record a different video or something, but something that just kind of gives them a sense of what the project is about.
Mm-hmm.
Like that idea.
Yeah, I kind of like Ashley, what you were saying about kind of things to focus on, and there could even be I don't know, like free resources, like links to I don't know, like a Scrimba for React, or
Mm-hmm.
that Intro to React course in Scrimba is free, or something similar to that.
So something here, like maybe even here, like in this get ready section, like here are some things to brush up on, you know, like basic Git commands,
like resources or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Yeah, good.
Cool. Anything else?
One thing I thought about the home pages, with all the pictures, they're beautiful pictures, but it's if you could get more pictures of people actually on video calls or something, so it's
Mm-hmm.
more about like being remote.
Yeah, I
working.
know it doesn't. This was like my early attempt to like reflect a little diversity in what we're doing and like that kind of thing, and like it's not at all how the experience is. You're never sitting side by side with somebody or whatever, right? So there's no post-it notes involved. So no, it's a good question. I've thought about that too. We tried to engage with a designer. So this guy in Pakistan, and he volunteered to like help like kind of come up with a new like a redesigned website, and then he just kind of just stopped responding. So I don't know what happened. So yeah, I'd like to, like I was kind of waiting for that to revamp this whole thing.
Mhm.
We're not super consistent about kind of, we almost might need to stage some shots, to be honest, like get people on a call and have them pretend
It's
to be
like,
doing the thing. I guess we could go back and like look through videos. Like that's how I got all the other photos, you know, is just looking through old videos for places where people were smiling, basically, and just like screen capture them.
To smile and wave goodbye or
Yeah.
something. Just good to be used.
I know Stacy's good on her cohorts of like, okay, everybody, like, you know, give a thumbs up or whatever, or like everybody smile for the thumbnail and stuff.
Smile for the thumbnail.
I think another thing that might be cool to add to the site is something they mentioned too, is just a place to show off what the cohorts actually did make in the end.
Oh yeah.
Something with like kind of like with our pictures, but instead of our pictures, like it would be what like screenshots of like the different pages of like the shopping list app or things like that, and how they look different and things from different cohorts.
Actually, that's a good idea. I was like, oh, we'll just link to their production apps, but then I remember that the Firebase databases expire, right? So yeah, all right. So it could be maybe each cohort has a little more space, and there's like a space for screenshots underneath each one or something.
Or like you can like expand it if you want to see it, or I'm not sure.
Oops, yeah. Yeah, so something like I don't know. something like that, where it just kind of shows up underneath, and you could like expand it and actually see some screenshots or something. Oh, that actually in that space we could also, because I think starting with, it might have been TCL3 actually, I started publishing recap posts on dev.to. So we could also link to the recap or something, or maybe even have a testimonial in there from, somebody from each cohort about
Yeah.
the
Or, I
experience.
mean, I was thinking that, like, if you're thinking of getting sponsors, it'd be nice to have just, like, even without our faces, maybe, like a dedicated place of the stuff that we built, because I don't know if they'd be interested in us because there's already About Us page, but even having like completely separate page of like what each cohort builds, so that like that's what the focus of that page is, might be nice too.
I like the focus being on people, but I see what you're saying. And at some point, this page isn't going to scale anymore.
Yeah. I kind of like, I think that having it expand and close is nice, but it might get really cluttered really fast. I kind of like how this is a wall of people, because this is like the people focused portion, and then there can just be a totally separate page that's more of like the project focused.
Projects, yeah. It's a good idea. Are you in the website committee channel yet, Jen? Sounds like you should be. Maybe you should be.
I'll check it out. Let me.
Yeah, or at least like pop in there and drop these ideas so we don't lose track of them.
I'm gonna have to run. I have a Father's Day dinner to go.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yep. Sorry, I didn't realize we're over time.
No worries. But thank you.
Great road trip. Have a great trip.
Yeah, I'll
have a great trip.
Come back, and looking forward to seeing the changes. But
cool.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye now.
See ya.
Bye.
We'll miss you.
We are over time, so I won't keep you all, but really good feedback. I like that idea of offering some resources here and stuff, so we'll definitely do that. I might not get to it tonight. I'm going to probably publish these pages tonight, and then I'll go back and add that in. But I need to have the pages up so I can publish my dev.to article about this, and then I need that up so that I can email everyone in the backlog. There's 175 people I'm going to email who applied and just haven't gotten in. So let them know about the new process. So cool. Anything else? Are y'all pretty clear on your plan for this coming week? So it sounds like Aisling has notes. I guess you'll just get together early in the week and kind of come up with like how you're gonna go about it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Sweet. Cool. Thank you all so much.
No problem.
Have a good rest of your night. Right.
Happy Father's Day.
Oh yeah, that's true. Oh, happy Father's Day. All right.
Thanks. See you later.
Night, y'all.